Fresh catch brought direct to the cities. Full steam ahead on how trains change the way we eat. That's at 7:30 here on BBC Two after BBC Proms Extra.
Tonight we are all about the three Bs: Bernard, Bowie and Berlioz. You just need to learn the 3 Rs. Relax, reflect and rejoice, because it's time for Proms Extra. Hello and welcome to Proms Extra. We are the semi-skimmed companion to the full-fat proms. Tonight's show is brimming with romance, nature and stardust. The Olympics have just started in Rio, but here in London, South Kensington, the athletic proms is already in its stride. It has been an eclectic week at the Hall. Things will be a little quieter in our studios here at the Royal College of Music, but not too much. Joining me tonight, my first guest is a rising star of the conducting world. She's worked with the BBC Scottish Symphony Orchestra and the Sydney Symphony Orchestra, and she's about to make her Albert Hall Proms debut conducting the BBC Concert Orchestra at the end of August. This promises to be one of the Proms highlights of the season, with top household names appearing such as Mr. Bloom and Robert the Robot. To be honest, we think it is the prom to go to, especially if you're 8 or under or a really grateful parent. Please welcome Jessica Cottis. My next guest is a composer, singer and arranger. She's one of the creative brains behind the David Bowie Prom, a former student here at the Royal College of Music whose work has been broadcast both here and in France. She's sung on Radiohead's latest album and with Prom's favourite, Niels Frahm. Please welcome Josephine Stevenson. And our final guest is an award-winning soprano. Her huge range of repertoire includes Mozart to Mahler, also Irish folk songs, to name but a few. So we are delighted she's also going to perform for us at the end of the show. We read that Kate Bush's Wuthering Heights is her karaoke song of choice, which was a surprise to us as we headed down for a Wham's Club Tropicana. Welcome to Ailish Tynan. Indeed, welcome to all of you. Jessica, I must ask, the CBeebies Prom, are you ready for a hall full of toddlers?
I cannot wait. I think it's going to be the most exciting thing to have the entire Albert Hall full of these young people. And I heard the prom it was sold out within an hour of going online, so I think it would be pretty electric.
And Josephine, you have had quite an extraordinary week. The Bowie Prom was something else, wasn't it? Are you coming back down to earth yet?
Just about, yeah. It's been nearly a week now. Yeah. It's been kind of everywhere since, online, and yeah, it's taken a bit of time to come down.
Ailish, Royal Opera House beckons in the autumn, I hear.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Great excitement.
Yeah, it is great excitement, except I've just been looking at the score, and one of the last lines that the lead character says that seemingly has lost his nose during the whole of the opera is, "I will refuse to marry that ugly woman." In relation to me, I'm disgusted. I've only just realised I never would have taken the role if I'd known that I was going to be characterised as an ugly woman.
You've already signed the contract, presumably. You can't pull out at this juncture.
No, I'm only joking. I'd never pull out.
And what's the
heaven on earth to work there? Shostakovich's The Nose.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we are delighted to have you all here. It is the 400th anniversary of Shakespeare's death this year, and of course the Proms is marking this occasion in its own way, with numerous concerts in the season. Last Sunday's Proms concert on BBC4 was an evening filled with love and romance, with Sir John Eliot Gardiner conducting the choral symphony of Romeo and Juliet, composed by Berlioz. Get ready to melt. From the Royal Albert Hall, that was Sir John Eliot Gardiner, aka Jiggy, conducting Romeo and Juliet by Berlioz. And you can't underestimate what a god Shakespeare was to Berlioz. He fell in love with his future wife when she was playing Ophelia and Juliet in Paris. He didn't speak English, he couldn't understand a word of what was going on, but he was utterly smitten. Now, Jessica, we had there star-crossed lovers, we had sweet French nothings in the air. It's a wonderful piece, isn't it?
It's extraordinary, and I thought the performance was extraordinary too. I think it's really interesting that how influential Shakespeare was on Berlioz. And he called him the supreme creator, second only to God. And I think there was this link for him between his great love, Harriet Smithson, and Shakespeare, who kind of, his works encapsulate the world, the very best and the worst. And he saw Harriet Smithson play Ophelia and then Juliet, and that was his love was sublimated really in Symphonie Fantastique. And then some years later, he wrote this piece. And it's crazy. It's a crazy piece. You know, there's no Romeo and Juliet characters. There's this huge orchestra. And I thought, you know, John Eliot Gardiner's he's such a poet in the way he brings these colours and these emotions out from all of his players and his singers. You know, the hairs on the back of my neck were well up when I listened to it.
Now, Josephine, you are half French, as I understand. Does that make you feel very close to Berlioz, or does it give you a different relationship with the music?
It's interesting because actually I think in some ways Berlioz is better treated here than he is in France.
Is that right?
Because I think people like Debussy always criticised him for, you know, I really admire him in having sort of come from nowhere. You know, he's really self-taught in his composition. He kind of knocked on the door of the Conservatoire and decided that he was going to be a composer. And as such, you can really tell in his writing that it's quite extravagant and kind of really, really bold. And so I guess I should feel patriotic. I feel a fondness for the character and the idea of him. For some reason, I've never quite yet fallen in love with the music.
But there's that obsessive quality in his music, isn't it? And it's like Beethoven, you know, you have this sense that he's banging his head against a wall constantly, and it's the same with Berlioz. He's kind of finding a way forward in these melodies that he writes.
It's really daring, and it's amazing that he got himself, you know, to the Villa Medici in Rome and all these amazing achievements. He's just a really, like maybe we'll talk about it later.
You were saying that the French people, maybe it's held in more high esteem over here than it is over there. I'm not so sure about that. I did a production of Beatrice and Benedict at the Opera Comique, and the director had the nerve to put in some English, added in extra English dialogue. So all the singers were talking in French, and he added in this extra kind of English dialogue that was not Shakespeare, it was superfluous to the whole thing. Well, the first night when we went out to take the bow, now I love a bit of controversy. I would actually rather there be a bit of controversy than everything go swimmingly wonderful. And when the artistic team came out to take their bows, the audience went mad. They were booing and everything. Oh, it was great crack. So I don't know, they seemed pretty passionate about Berlioz in Paris when I was there.
Is this a work that you know, Ailish?
Well, this was new to me, and I loved the dedication to using the period instruments and the use of the ophicleide in it and all those, you know, unusual instruments that and the work that people have to put in. It's a life's work, getting those instruments to sound, and you know, so much can go wrong with them. I've been in performances where people have had terrible disasters on natural horns and things, but like,
I'm sure music is quite demanding as well.
It's really demanding. But I mean, it brings up that whole idea that as musicians we do have to kind of we have to play with danger in order to find that real excitement.
Exactly. When I listened to it, I felt like those instruments gave it almost like, in places, a raucous, rustic feel that added to it more, and you do listen to it differently. I love that about it.
Well, you can find the complete performance of Romeo and Juliet on the BBC iPlayer. Amusez-vous. From the romance of Shakespeare to the loves and passions of a puppet, it could only be Stravinsky's Petrushka, which was shown on BBC4 last night and is also online for your viewing pleasure. Written for the Ballet Russe back in the early 20th century, this is one of 3 Stravinsky ballets being played this weekend, with the remaining 2, The Firebird and The Rite of Spring, being broadcast live on Radio 3 tomorrow. This feels like the right moment to bring in David Owen Norris, who has a thing or two to say about the Petrushka chord in Chord of the Week.
That chord's actually named the Petrushka chord. Stravinsky really made it his own in the great ballet he composed for Diaghilev. As so often with Stravinsky, you can see exactly how he found it as he sat composing at the piano. His right hand's just playing a C major chord, the piano's quintessential white note key. So his left hand decides to choose the black notes and plays F sharp major. Together they make this fascinating noise. C and F sharp. Stravinsky gives those notes an important part to play all through his ballet. The Russian dance ends in C, and then immediately the drums come thundering in on an F sharp. When Petrushka first appears, the piano plays an F sharp in the bass and then decorates a C major chord. That's when the clarinets first slyly suggest the famous chord. And the chord underlies the trumpet's tune as well. Even the peasant and his bear are represented by chords of C and F sharp. And at the very end, when the trumpets have played the Petrushka chord, the piece ends not on that C, but on this F sharp. As Diaghilev said, you end on a question.
David Owen Norris and his chords will be back again next Saturday. Still to come is a performance from my sofa guest Eilish Tynan performing Strauss, and we will catch a glimpse of Bernard Haitink conducting a Mahler masterpiece. Now, 2016 had barely begun before the news came in that David Bowie had died from cancer at the age of 69. His influence spanned more than 5 decades across music, fashion and art, and shows no sign of waning even after his death. In fact, his last album, Black Star, has just been shortlisted for this year's Mercury Music Prize. This prom promised to be one of the season's highlights, according to some of the classes queuing up on the night.
Innovative, electrifying, original.
Please stay in the queue.
I've grown up with this music all of my life.
It gives meaning to everybody. You know, everything he's done always gives us meaning.
So we came out because we're Bowie fans and we want to see what the Royal Albert Hall is all about. Got a bit space oddity.
Rebel.
Yeah.
I'd really like to see Life on Mars.
I like Astama and Change.
Well, it won't be quite like a rock concert or quite like a classical concert. It'll just be a bit different.
It's all orchestral. It's got a twist to it.
People are in there listening to Mahler now, and then they're going to listen to David Bowie, and they like both.
I think it's going to be an amazing performance.
Very emotional. I have eyelash glue in my bag because I know that they're going to be down here somewhere later with all the crying. But it'll be good crying.
Well, that was a taste of the crowd reaction before the concert. Josephine, his appeal is universal when you look at that cross-section of the audience.
Yeah, I think he's just, especially for British people, someone who came, from Brixton and kind of decided of his life and what to do with it. And I think he's just such an inspiring person, and he has been for so many people, yeah, as you say, all generations of all backgrounds and within all these different fields, and even within music itself, he's kind of explored so many different genres, and he's a really admirable person, I think.
Well, let's have a quick look at the David Bowie prom with the conductor Andre de Ridder and his ensemble Stargaze, accompanied by just a few friends.
Fine makes a man take things over. Fine, that's loose, hard to swallow.
tonight there was a roll call of people coming onto the stage, like a tag team. Laura Mvula, John Cale, Mark Armand, Anna Calvi, Paul Buchanan, Amanda Palmer, Neil Hannon, Philippe Jaruski, Conor O'Brien, Hedek Bischoff, and a house gospel choir, all performing a range of David Bowie tracks with the ensemble Stargaze, conducted by Andre de Ridder. Josephine, you're one of the arrangers involved. You did 3 tracks. How? How did that all come about?
Good question. I guess I just got an email from Andre saying, I think I need some help. Please, would you maybe arrange a track or 2? And then I said, yes, of course.
And how did you approach the task of sort of reimagining these famous tracks for this environment?
I think I just listened to the songs a few times, then put them away and tried to write down whatever had stayed. I had some tips, some ideas already from Andre, so we exchanged a lot of ideas. And I needed to not go too far away from the original songs because they needed to be recognisable not only for the fans but for the singers who weren't necessarily, wouldn't have much time to get used to the new feeling of them.
So just remind us, which tracks did you arrange?
So I did 3. One towards the beginning, which was The Man Who Sold the World from the album of the same name. Then I did one from Black Star, which is actually the last song of the album, so the last song of his whole discography.
Who sang that one?
I Can't Give Everything Away. That was sung by Paul Buchanan.
That was it, yeah.
And then I also did After All from The Man Who Sold the World as well.
That's a big ask. I'm just trying to imagine how you felt, actually, when you sort of realised you had this sort of musical legacy on your shoulders to...
Yeah, I tried not to think about it too much. I think that's the best way to do it. If I started thinking also, gosh, the Albert Hall, 5,000 people plus radio and television, and that I might not have gone anywhere. So I just sat in my room, did my thing as if it was only for Andrew and me and the singers.
It got a mixed response. Yes. It really did. I mean, I've got a few tweets here. We had some very positive ones. We had one from somebody who said it was riveting and inspiring, experimental, a little chaotic. Bowie would have approved. Which actually is the best response you can possibly hope for, isn't it? And lots of people saying playful, maddening, brilliant. That was great. We also did have one which did make me laugh. I'm not saying this prom is bad, he said, but my cat has tried ringing the RSPCA 3 times. And, but other things of that ilk. I must say, not everybody got it, I think.
I actually went straight to the airport to fly somewhere, and I had this time which you have before a flight, and I tentatively thought, let's look at #BowieProm and see. And then I saw this huge list of hating messages, and I thought, gosh, it's easy for people to sit at home and be like, oh, this is rubbish, without really thinking about the amount of work and passion that's been going in. And I think maybe the most difficult thing perhaps has been the expectations that people had or didn't have from this concert, and maybe it was a bit vague as to what exactly it was going to be, and actually it was just something a bit more personal and kind of special and a one-off.
And it was a work in progress pretty much to the day of the performance. I mean, you're saying, you were told a month before, tickets went on sale 3 months previously, I mean,
everyone knew that it was sold out way before anyone started doing any work.
It's hugely popular in that sense. I mean, Eilish, what did you think?
I was on my way to bed when I suddenly tuned in, and I literally was mesmerised by the whole thing. I'm not sure what I made of it, I'll be honest with you. For example, I was thinking, I've spent 15 years or however long of my career getting used to an orchestral sound, and it's a different sound, and it's something you've got to really tune into. So suddenly there were people who were from pop singing backgrounds put in with all these classical instruments. It's kind of hard to make sense of that. I felt the Black Star stuff was more successful than anything else, maybe because it was so far out there. I felt like people were a little bit a slave to the music, to the notes. But then when I spoke to you, Josephine, and you said, for example, Conor O'Brien, which I thought actually was one of the more successful performances, he'd only just got the music the day before. Like, how do you do? I couldn't do that, not in a million years.
I think maybe the fact that it wasn't curated in a really business, we need a number to dance to, we need a number that makes people cry, we need this. It was really personal and heartfelt, and it was a melting pot, and obviously it was going to be divisive because there's kind of...
And David Bowie would love that because he was divisive anyways. That's what he was all about. But the other thing what I really loved about this prom was that Amanda brought her baby on stage. Now that set a great precedent for me because I've got a hairy baby at home. He's a 4-year-old Jack Russell Jack. And when I'm next to a man or two or anything at the prom, he's coming with me. And when the conductor says, where are you going with that dog? I say, no, there's a precedent has been set for babies coming on this stage. My dog would not be as good as that baby, I have to admit. He would be howling.
He's really quiet.
The vision, I have to say, of Marla 2 plus Jack Russell yapping is just tremendous. Jessica, I mean, from Andre de Ridder's point of view, he had set himself a Herculean task, hadn't he? Being ringmaster, curator, conductor,
everything,
jack of all trades. Yeah,
I find the whole concept of a David Bowie prom fascinating because as artists we have to engage with audiences, but it brings into question for me what we do and how we can play with this idea of genius. And Bowie was a genius. He encapsulated so much about life and what life means and the philosophy of life and how we can then bring that into a different setting now that he's not alive. I think it's such a big task.
And do you feel that it was, from that perspective, a successful creative endeavour?
I think there were many things that were really exciting on stage, and there were lots of people all coming together with a lot of energy and a lot of love as well, which is what music is often all about. For me, from my background, I would have loved to have heard, say, massive symphony orchestra. You know, let's just go full hog with all of this, and have something really kind of big for the Albert Hall, big for this massive musical mind. That perhaps would have been my preference.
So we could revisit.
I definitely worth revisiting.
I mean, Josephine, would you do it again?
Yeah, anytime.
Well, do go onto the BBC iPlayer and take a look at the David Bowie
well
prom.
worth seeing.
I think it's fair to say you need to expect the unexpected. Now, the David Bowie prom was one of several concerts from the prom season so far that audiences had earmarked for their diary, and it had people queuing in their droves on the night as well for a cheap ticket. Many people plan in advance to buy their prom seats, and there is nothing wrong with that, of course. However, if you are one of the many hundreds who like to be just a touch more impulsive, then coming to the proms as a prommer and standing in the arena or the gallery might be just the ticket. What is a prommer, though? Well, gospel prom saxophone star Yolanda Brown asked herself the very same question. She made her prom's debut this year and witnessed the classical mosh pit up close and personal. So we asked her to get in line and find out more.
I am on my way to the Royal Albert Hall to join the legendary Proms queue. This is my first time at the Proms. I've got my lunch, my blanket, a bag full of supplies to keep me occupied while I wait, my heels for height. I'm good to go. I'm so excited. See you in there. Excuse me. Hello. Hi. I'm interested in coming to the Proms tonight. I'm not quite sure where to go.
What I'm going to do is I'll give you a raffle ticket.
Okay.
And you will join this queue here where it says Arena Day queue.
Yeah, I
over
see it.
there. You're very welcome to leave for half an hour, but only half an hour.
Okay. So when I get inside, is there an order then to be at the front of the auditorium, or do we push forward?
No, don't push forward.
Gently nudge. So I've got my space in the queue, I've got my lunch, my trusty blanket. I think I'm going to set up on the wall. Everybody seems to be up on the wall for the moment. Then you've got to go into my bag of goodies, just for the things that are going to keep me entertained while I'm waiting. So I've always got to go with a trusty book. When that gets a bit too much, I don't go anywhere without my Rubik's Cube. And last but no means least, I'm not an old lady, but got to do a little bit of crochet. So I am ready and set up. Lunch is here, ready to prom. We are prime position first in the queue now. I've heard a lot about the rail. Is it easy to get there when I enter the arena?
There's a funny walk.
You have to stride.
You have to stride across.
You're not allowed to
Right.
run.
Position you want.
Okay.
You look like a chicken or something on the camera.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Well, we've moved from our original position. We're closer to the Royal Albert Hall now, just about to go through the door. There is a sense of anticipation. Everybody's reading their programmes. I can hear discussions about the music and about the composers. This is really exciting. In we go. Hello. So we've now entered, tickets scanned. We are waiting in the wings to go into the main arena. I can't wait. I've seen the walk, by the way, the walk we heard of earlier.
1, 2, 3, go.
Going in.
No running, please. No running. No running, please.
Oh,
No running.
I can get the rail. Off we go quickly. I've touched the holy grail of the prom, the rail. So we're here, we're at the rail. What do you like most about being here for the prom?
Well, I like being at the front, obviously, because you can see everything,
Yes.
you can hear everything so well.
How do you deal with standing up? This is such a lengthy time.
Yeah, I think you don't really think about it. Once you get sort of like taken in by the music, you don't think about your legs kind of hurting. I think when you get out, you might want to sit down and have a stretch.
One thing I found quite interesting is that people then sit down once they're in here. I've never thought of sitting on the floor of the Royal Albert Hall. I might give it a go next. It's about to begin. I'll see you on the other side. Wow, what an exhilarating experience to hear the full choir, to hear the orchestra. My goodness, you really feel a part of the music. Every dynamic you can hear, every breath that the singers take you can hear. Everything I heard this morning is so true. It's amazing to be a prommer, even more amazing to be at the rail. I had a fantastic time and I'll be back again.
Saxophonist Yolanda Brown being a prommer for the very first time, and we hope not the last. Jessica, have you prommed?
Absolutely. When I was a student, I'd prom as much as I possibly could. And sometimes I'd go really early if it was a big prom, or sometimes I'd risk it and go quite late. But I had some amazing musical experiences. I always go to the gallery because I like looking down on the audience and feeling the collective energy of that many people.
Very chilled up there, isn't it?
It's fantastic. And you can sit or you can lie down if there's enough room.
Now, you've got no excuse, obviously, Josephine, as you were right here, so you only had to walk about 100 yards.
I went promming so many times. It's such an amazing thing to be able to see Bell Phil and, you know, all for fiver. It's incredible. But I always go downstairs.
Interesting.
Yeah, and now you made me want to go. Just to kind of see, I think, the performers up close, and feel really connected in physical way.
Would you do the funny walk to try and get to the rail?
Oh, I've done it, yeah. yeah.
It does look very funny, it must say. And Ailish, are you? I'm looking at
You're
the height of your
joking.
heels.
I'm 5 foot tall on a good day if I've been to see at least 3 osteopaths, and I have to go around wearing 6-inch high heels everywhere. There's no way I could stand for all those hours. Plus, did you see the way that girl had to hop up on that wall? I mean, I'd need to bring at least 3 burly men with me to hoist me up to sit up there for the 7 hours before the prom starts. No, I buy a ticket and sit down.
You like your velvet seat, a bit of plush.
I do, I love that, and if I've had a glass of wine beforehand, that's even better.
So there you have it, a Proms Extra insight into promming. And once you have made it inside the hall, you might come away feeling inspired to pick up an instrument in your own time. BBC's Get Playing could be just the thing for you, because it is an initiative to encourage you to get playing. Head to the website bbc.co.uk/getplaying and you can join the BBC Virtual Orchestra on the last night of the proms. Now, last Friday, BBC4 showed Mahler's Third Symphony. It's a mighty work, an hour and a half long, and it was conducted by the 87-year-old Bernard Haitink, who made his proms debut 50 years ago. Here's an excerpt. Mahler's Third Symphony, Sarah Connolly performing with the London Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Bernard Haitink. Another spine-tingling moment, I think. Ailish, I can tell you're a big fan of Mahler.
This was just heaven for me. I mean, I love Mahler anyways, but I mean, Sarah Connolly there singing like a goddess, and Haitink just had all these orchestral forces, huge orchestral forces, and the whole thing felt like an epic journey. I mean, I was just in heaven watching this. And then in this, you know, the trombone solo in the first movement, Dudley Bright. Oh, it was so kind of, it started off sinister and menacing almost, and then it just was so mellow and mellifluous. Oh, Everything about this I loved. The LSO, I mean, they are just spectacular. There isn't one musician. I mean, you said the little clip we saw there of the oboe player, that's a friend of Josephine. Every single person. But every single Carmen playing those beautiful melodies, and it's so full of young players, the LSO. They're really supporting young players. Like, they've got Phil Cobb there leading the trumpets, who's only a young guy, and the trumpets in that first movement, that whole brass first movement was just exceptional. The whole thing blew me away, monumental. And the way Haitink paced it, the man, I mean, in his intro to that, he said, oh, you know, that we don't talk about it, we won't talk about it, the music speaks for itself. I love that about him, because so many conductors, sorry, Jessica, won't stop talking. You think, come on, let's just make the music. Yeah, I love that about him. I've never worked with him, but he sounds like heaven.
And that's the thing, I think, with Haitink. It's almost as though he conducts with his aura. It's so minimal, and it's so seeped in life, all of life's experiences and struggles and so on, which is so deep within his bone marrow that he just stands there. And this incredible work, I mean, extraordinary work that is about struggle and life. It encapsulates the world, and all of these tiny things that he does. It just sort of, it's there in the ether and the energy around him.
The only thing wrong with Mahler 3 is that there's no part for a soprano. But in the third movement, I've seen a little bit of an opening for myself, actually. Maybe we could add it in if we do like an experimental Mahler like the David Bowie. Maybe there's a little song at the beginning, with my dog. There's a little song at the beginning of the third movement that I've sung, the Ablösung im Sommer. And a little song about a cuckoo who's going to fall to his death out of the green tree, and hopefully we'll have a lovely little nightingale to serenade us in the summer. I love that, but I could seriously join in.
Well, if you head to the BBC iPlayer, you can find Mahler's Third Symphony as conducted by Bernard Haitink, along with many more Proms delights. Talking of delights, ahead of their performance from memory at the Royal Albert Hall last Sunday, which you can watch later on in the month, the Aurora Orchestra did a surprise performance, a flash mob, inside a London shopping centre, playing to enthralled shoppers. Have a look at this. The Aurora Orchestra giving the captivated audience of shoppers there a surprise bargain. In our opinion, that definitely beats a buy one, get one free offer. And that is almost it from us, but whilst there's some major sporting event happening somewhere in Rio, there is a bit of a change to our Proms schedule. So tonight, after Proms Extra, you can watch the National Youth Orchestra's prom live online. And for the next couple of weeks, Saturday night is Proms night here on BBC Two. Meanwhile, concerts are being stockpiled as a pentathlon equivalent of Proms offerings on BBC 4 for a week after the Olympics have finished. And don't worry, Proms Extra is going nowhere. That is it for this evening. Next week, Proms Extra has got a pass out to do the show from the Royal Albert Hall for one night only. We are giddy with excitement. The reason is it's a night of Gershwin with the John Wilson Orchestra, and Proms Extra is the warm-up act. We're even going to dress up. So please join us, and we'll be looking at Tchaikovsky's Violin Concerto, Holst Planets, and Jamie Cohn's Prom. My thanks to my guest tonight, Jessica Cottis. Good luck with the CBeebies prom at the end of August. Josephine Stevenson as well, thank you. And thanks to Eilish Tynan, who now, accompanied by pianist Ian Tyndale, will perform Strauss's Zu Eignung. Goodbye.